Hi, Addsure followers. Thank you so much for joining us for another installment of Meet the Experts. We're very pleased to have with us today Marisia Robus from Gauteng Property Inspections. We came across Marisia through our panel of professionals that we deal with in our day-to-day sectional title, homeowners, insurance realm. And we're very happy to have Marisia on board with us today just to chat about some of the items that I think members of a body corporate or an HOA or even in your private household, you're going to find are very, very interesting topics to hand. So, Marisia, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Candice.
Perfect. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started in this property game?
So, my name is Marisia Robus. I'm a NABISA certified master inspector, which is the National Association of Building Inspectors of South Africa. I'm also an ITC certified roof inspector, so I issue A19 certificates when new roof trusses are erected, and I'm also an asbestos inspector. And I'm the only female property roof and asbestos inspector in the country, and I'm the only property roof and asbestos inspector in the country with those qualifications. So I get a lot of frowns when I arrive on site, but I love my job. I worked in a construction company with my dad for 12 years, and that is where I learned all the ins and outs. Because if you look at a crack, there's a reason for the crack. And while my dad was constructing all the houses, he would tell me the bricklayer is doing that wrong and we're going to have a crack there, or the plasterers are doing this wrong and we're going to have plaster cracks. So I learned from the ground up what is going to go wrong if the plasterers, bricklayers, and everybody, makes mistakes. And that is where my strength comes in. Because the other thing that people must remember is that a crack is not a crack. You get 15 different types of cracks. And in my book, The Proud Homeowner, there's a complete chapter on cracks. And for heaven's sake, I'm not going to mention the product because I think one of these days I'm going to be sued by them. But there's one product that everybody runs and buys when they want to fix cracks. Please don't. It's a rigid product and the cracks just appear straight in the middle of that product again. So every crack has to be, repaired differently and everything. And that is what's important with maintenance, because what the bodies corporate and the homeowners associations and the homeowners don't always realize is if you patch a product, if you patch a problem, it'll come back. But if you repair it, it won't come back. And that is why I'm so passionate about maintenance, because if you do it properly and correctly, you won't have that problem again.
I think that's very important. And I like because it actually will tie in so much with what we do from an insurance aspect, because often we talk about how if maintenance is not being done, how it has this ripple effect on the entire scheme. Along comes the insurer, and you're either going to have an unsuccessful claim because of defective workmanship, or you haven't had maintenance done and it's now considered wear and tear. So I think it's awesome that we have this opportunity to discuss this today.
Yes. And Candice, the other thing that people, and I say it every single time when I do an inspection report, I say to people, if you do not do maintenance, insurance will decline your claim. And then people phone me, insurance declined my claim, please come and do an inspection. And I say, well, I'm not even taking your money because insurance is correct. And the other thing that people must remember is if your property, your sectional title scheme, your private house is not built according to national building regulations, insurance is also going to decline your claim. And that is very, very important to remember.
How often do you get clients saying to you that insurance will help me, and they think that insurance is a maintenance contract?
More often than I should. Yeah, more often than I should. More often than I should. Yeah, people don't realize, then insurance declines the claim, and then they will. Well, I say, go and read the fine print. Go and read the fine print.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the big thing is you haven't signed a maintenance contract with the insurance company. You've taken out insurance if something goes wrong, if the tree falls on your house, or if there's a lightning strike or whatever, that's what you take out insurance for, not to come and paint your window frames and clean your gutters.
So one of the things that we have quite often, especially now when up here in Joburg, we're going to start entering our rainy season, or we've already been inundated with it a bit, is the fact that so many complexes, and I'm just going to refer to complexes in a broad sort of meaning.
Okay.
It could be HOAs, it could even be a personal household, where roof maintenance is overlooked, and roof maintenance then causes the water damage and flooring damage and wall damage. So as a property owner, in that aspect, what are we supposed to be doing in order to maintain our roofs so that we avoid the costly repairs or avoid having to knock on insurance's door? What do we do?
Okay, so one of the most important things, and the thing that probably causes the most damage on roofs, are leaves from trees, flowers. My neighbor has, I call it a helicopter tree. It's got these awful seeds that go like little helicopters. Boy, oh boy, can they block a roof. So you have to cut the trees back from the house, cut it back from the roofs. And a lot of people, oh no, but I like the trees. Okay, fine. But then you need to clean the roof every month. Once a month, you need to clean it. You must remember, you get a valley where two roofs meet like this. And if that is blocked up, now what underneath there, you've got valley flashing, okay, which is a piece of stainless steel. It's in a valley like this, and it's got little lips on the side. So what happens is the water from the two roofs run down into this valley, and then it drains out. Now this is blocked with leaves. So where's the water going to go? It's going to back up, and eventually it's going to push in under the roof tiles. Now it's going to leak onto the ceiling. Insurance comes out, they say, your valley is dirty. That's why the roof leaked. If the valley was clean, it would not have happened. The other thing is your gutters. If your gutters are blocked and the water can't drain away, it will also push back and it could cause leaks. Then if you have sheeted roofs, if a sheeted roof is not kept clean, if you've got leaves and everything piled up on it, what happens to the water? It can't drain away and the roof sheets start to rust. Now you've got holes in it, water drips onto the ceiling. Then if you've got flat and concrete roofs, a lot of times the screed on the concrete roofs were not done correctly. If you climb onto your concrete roof, you'll see brown patches. Now, the brown patches are an indication where the water ponds. So in other words, it doesn't flow towards the outlets. But now you've got leaves and branches and other rubbish on the roof. So what happens? And normally, if the water flows towards the outlet, this will all pile up around the outlet. So what happens? Water ponds. You've got your waterproofing, which turns up against the parapet wall, but it only goes up a certain amount, a certain distance. Now, if you've got a big storm, water can't get out the outlets, it ponds on the roof, water might go higher than the waterproofing against the parapet walls. It goes in behind the parapet walls, and you've got roof leaks below. So if you keep your roofs clean, if you don't want to cut the trees, that's fine by me. But then you've got to clean the roofs once a month. Make sure there's no leaves that can stop the flow of water. You must also remember that water is very, very strong. So we'll talk about other flows of paving and everything later. But when water flows down a roof or there's a big storm, it is strong. It's got power. And the other thing that people forget is how much rain actually gets onto a roof. 1 millimeter of rain on 1 square meter of roof is 1 liter of water. So think about that again. 1 millimeter of rain, a millimeter of rain is very little, on 1 square meter of roof is 1 liter of water. So if you look at a sectional title complex or a block of flats with a huge roof, how much water is coming down that roof. And now if it's a heavy storm, heavy rain and everything, it aggravates everything. So you have to keep your valleys and your roof clean.
Marisia, now for a layman, when you have a big hailstorm and huge hail, more than often, most of the things that we come across is that, I get told by a loss adjuster there was a hail buildup and water flowed over, and most likely it filled up in these valleys. How do you prevent that? Is that because the valleys weren't done correctly? Or are they too jagged? Because often you'll get these photos and it's not smooth, it's all jagged and ripply. And does that contribute to hail issues?
Yes. So hail is a problem, especially if the valleys are not cut open. Here's a photograph of what a valley should look like when it's cut open neatly. And then here's a photograph of what a valley looks like, which I normally find, okay? So in these valleys that are not cut open properly, there is space for the hail and everything to get caught in. But I have found in the past, and then insurance has agreed, when it's been a heavy hailstorm with big hails, and the hail actually doesn't melt fast enough, and it runs down the valley and it piles up in the bottom and it piles up in the gutters, even if the gutters and valleys are clean, then insurance pays, because they realize as long as the big thing is when you've had such a big hailstorm, get on your roof and take photographs. Take photographs of how the hail is piled up and how bad it was and how big the hail was. Because then you can prove to insurance, look, my valleys are clean. The hail ran down, it piled up, it just couldn't melt fast enough. And then insurance will not be unreasonable.
Yeah.
They won't be. But if your valleys are not cut open, leaves get blocked, get stuck easily. Also, if you have a lot of birds or hadida sitting on the roof, the bird poo gets caught, and then the hail is going to get caught a lot easier. So very important. Have a look at this photograph of an open cut valley, and it's very important that the valley is cut open.
And how often do you come across clients who almost like waterproof and close up the valley? Is that a bad thing to do?
No.
Clearly not good.
Please don't. No.
Okay.
Because the problem is the valleys are leaking. So why are the valleys leaking? Because they're not cut open. So leaves and everything gets blocks the valley, and the water pushes over. Now they think they're waterproofing it. But the other problem with waterproofing the valleys is they don't cut the valleys open. So you've still got all of these, if you look at this photograph, you've still got all of these bits and pieces. They've now waterproofed it. Now they've made it like a little bed for the leaves to go and lie in, even worse. So please do not waterproof the valleys. Cut the valleys open. If need be, service the valley flashing. So in other words, check that the little pieces on the side which must turn up are still turned up, because on old roofs with all the people walking on it, those little things flatten after a while. And also very old roofs, the valley flashing can start rusting. So just replace it. It's not expensive. Cut the valleys open. Do not waterproof it. The other problem is if you waterproof the valleys, they don't only just waterproof the valley, they waterproof like 2-3 tiles on the side. Now, this is another problem. So if you look at these photographs, when you close the front of the roof tiles can't act the way they are designed to act. So the roof tiles fit on top of each other like that, if you look at this photograph. So the bottom one has got grooves in it and the top one fits onto it. So if you look at this photograph, water will get in here. It then drains down the grooves and it drains out the front. So that roof won't leak. But now if you waterproof the front of the roof closed, where's the water going to go? Push over onto the ceiling. And that is why people must be very careful when they paint their roof tiles. Don't paint the front of the roof tiles closed. You will cause roof leaks, and insurance will not pay because you have changed the workings of the roof tiles. Roof tiles are designed not to leak. And if you leave them, but if you paint your roof, make sure you spray paint it, the top of it, don't paint the front closed. That's a big no-no.
Sure, I don't think anybody actually even knows that.
Okay.
And Marisia, say now you've got an older building and those roof tiles are no longer made, and now you get a different profile of roof tile. But the original manufacturer says this is what you can use. How much impact does a roof tile profile have on existing roofs that are existing tiles that are older?
Yeah, the problem is if you join different profiles, they don't always match up properly. So what I suggest to the complexes in that case is if you have a lot of broken tiles and things in an area, take one part of the roof, because you have like you'll have a small roof coming in, a long roof and a small roof. Take the small part of the roof, take those roof tiles off, replace them on the rest of the roof, and then replace this section of the roof with new tiles. Because mixing profiles is not good. And what I've come across, insurance also doesn't like that, because the roof tiles, different profiles, don't gel and they don't seal properly and they don't work well together. But there are a few companies like Protectable, and they buy up, if you demolish a house, they come and buy your window frames and your roof tiles and everything. So if you've got an old complex, I know those old complexes have those, I love them, those heavy, thick concrete roof tiles. I mean, you feel like you can actually crack somebody's skull with one of those roof tiles. Protectable has a lot of them. So if your complex, if you know you've got to do roof maintenance, contact them. There are other companies like that around as well, and go and buy some of the roof tiles. Or if you can't, then make a section of the roof with new roof tiles and use those tiles on the other parts of the roof.
Okay. And then and how often do you come across roof slopes that are incorrect? And I know that what I always used to hear is that if the roof was sloped at a certain angle, you would have the plastic sheeting. And then when the roof slope changed over time, you no longer need the plastic sheeting. What's the actual take on slopes and plastic sheeting?
Okay, so let's start on tiled roofs. So tiled roofs, if the slope of the roof is less than 17 degrees, it must have an approved underlay. Okay, so you'll find old buildings, you'll climb into the roof and you'll see the plastic has totally disintegrated. Here's a photograph of this. So when that has happened, a lot of times people put plastic underlay in and it wasn't necessary. But if the roof slope is less than 17 degrees, you need under tile plastic, okay? Here's a table out of the National Building Regulations, which details it very beautifully. If it's over 17 degrees, you don't need under tile plastic, okay? So you need to determine the slope of the roof. Then if we get to sheeted roofs, the minimum slope allowed on a sheeted roof is 5 degrees. Although if you get a good installer, they would rather go to 7. 5 is almost flat. So I find a lot of times you climb on top of a roof and the people are complaining, the roof is leaking and whatever, and the thing is flat. No wonder it's leaking. Where must the water go? Water can't drain off if the slope, if it's level. So sheeted roofs, you need 5 degrees. And then on concrete roofs, the slope has got to be towards the outlets. And then if you're on slate roofs, you would have noticed that slate roofs have a very, very steep slope always. And you need malthoid underlay, which looks like a bit of a sheet with tar on it. Now, slate roofs are very, very good roofs because normally the tiles are double overlapped and everything. But if you have a slate roof, insurance is very picky on maintenance. So if you have broken tiles or the ridges are not done properly, they will decline a claim. But the way to get away with that is you sign a maintenance contract with a slate roofing company. And you pay them, I don't know, they obviously charge per size of the roof, but let's say you pay them 5,000 Rand a year. and they come and do maintenance on your roof annually. And if something goes wrong 2 months after your roof has been maintained, insurance will accept to say, yeah, I've got a maintenance contract with them. They've been here to repair, wind has been bad or whatever. Then insurance doesn't have a problem. So slate roofs, if you maintain them well and properly, will last forever. They are fantastic.
I've always thought that they were so bad. I think
No,
it's because
no,
I
no.
never really see a lot of them up here.
No, they're fantastic. They are
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay. And then maybe I almost want to say a swear word, but it's almost something that we want to leave alone, is when someone says, I've got damp. There's damp on my walls, or I'm noticing damp on my ceiling. What are like the main sort of causes of damp that you see in sectional title, and how do they prevent it?
Okay, so damp is my pet hate. Okay, and I've actually I've been making a lot of noise about damp and the fact that so you get different damp and causes of damp. So rising damp, when it's at the bottom of the walls, the bottom meter, and you normally see it on the outside first with the paint bubbling and peeling. Here's a photograph of damp, and I'm sure everybody has seen that. Now that damp is caused by a construction error. Now, I am so sick and tired of these builders not building according to national building regulations that I actually wrote to the Minister of Human Settlements, and believe it or not, she actually came back to me, and I've had a meeting with the head of legal from Human Settlements, head of legal from NHBRC. They're busy changing the law, and I am now trying to get them to say that when a new property is built, the builder must give the homeowner a 5-year rising damp guarantee, because then they'll start building properly. So rising damp is a major problem. And if it's not attended to, it will come through to the inside of the house. So what is supposed to happen, and here is a drawing from the NHBRC guideline, as well as the National Building Regulations and the NHBRC guidelines. You will see that it indicates that the DPC, which is a damp-proof course, is supposed to protrude 10 millimeters outside of the wall. And the plaster must be broken. So let me explain to you how rising damp happens. So you get water on the ground, and through capillary action, the water goes up in the wall, in the bricks or in the plaster. Now, what is supposed to happen when it hits the DPC, the plastic? It goes down again. It won't go up the wall. Now, in the olden days and in old buildings, you'll see they've got a face brick plinth. So the bottom part of the wall is face brick. That is the best thing out, because you don't see damp damage. But nowadays, people don't want a face brick plinth, and they want the walls plastered. But the plasterers and the bricklayers don't know the law. And they don't know that the DPC is supposed to protrude. And I've heard people say, oh, but it's ugly, I don't want to see it. I'm like, okay, then you need to waterproof the walls. So what they do is they plaster the walls and they draw a little line in the plaster. Now you will a lot of times find cracks, not even in that line in the plaster. And where that crack is where the DPC actually is, and where the joint should have been created. So the only way to repair, not patch, repair the damp, is you remove the plaster 1 meter high. You waterproof the walls, and don't use a rubbish no-name brand product you buy at Builders Warehouse. You use a proper product, then you replaster the wall, and you then seal it with another waterproofing agent, and then you can repaint the walls. So that makes it very expensive. Because, and then the other thing you've got to remember, if the floor level of the unit on the ground floor is not 150 millimeters, in other words, 2 bricks above the outside level, the builder should have done what we call vertical damp proofing. So it should have had damp proofing like that down and like that on the foundations. Now, if that wasn't done, you'll also have damp coming in. So what you then have to do is you have to remove the paving, and you've got to go down to the footing, so the base of the foundations, and you've got to waterproof all the way up. Now, what makes this whole damp proofing proper repair expensive is you've got to paint the whole outside of the complex again. Because even if you've got the same paint standing in the storeroom, the paint has faded. So now you've got to repaint the entire outside, and that makes it expensive. I would just like to give complexes a heads up on damp repair. There are a lot of companies that says we'll do damp repair, and they'll all give you a 10-year guarantee. But if you go and look, the company's only been in existence for 5 years, and then you say to him, how do you give me a guarantee and you've only been in existence for 3 years or 5 years or whatever? And he'll say, no, but my previous company was this and my previous company was that. And you very soon realize that they closed the company after 5 years, and then they open another company just so that they don't have to honor their 10-year guarantee. So make sure the company you use has been in existence for longer than 10 years and that they can honor their 10-year guarantee. So very important. Then you said people have damp on walls. Now, if you have damp on the ceiling, it's coming from above. Rising damp can only go 1 meter high due to gravity. So if it's anywhere else, it's coming from somewhere else. It's either a leaking pipe in the wall, in the bathroom, the shower pipes might be leaking or something. Or if it's coming from the top, if there's a roof that's leaking, a flat roof, or there's water coming in next to a parapet wall, or what I find a lot in complexes is if there's a bathroom above, and then the water leaks, and it's either the shower trap is not connected correctly, or the shower floor is not waterproofed, or there are pipes that are leaking. Now, if that is the case, if it's a bathroom or something, it's not the body corporate's responsibility because that's inside the unit. If it's the roof leaking, yes, that is the body corporate's responsibility. But if it's on the walls or anything, it's the owner. So you then need to get hold of the owner above you and fight that fight. The other thing people must remember is if you're in a passage and you see paint bubbling on the wall and everything, there's normally a shower on the other side. And that means that either the shower walls and floors weren't waterproofed, or the waterproofing has failed, or if it's a very distinct pattern, then you can see, okay, this is a leaking pipe. So you need to determine what is the cause. And if it's a shower wall and floor, you can start off by removing the grout and then put the new grout in and mix Sika latex in. Now, I'm a big fan of Sika. It's a Swedish product, Swedish or Swiss? Swedish product. It is brilliant. They've been around for, 80, 90 years, and their products are superb. They're a little bit more expensive than the no-name brand jobs you can get at Builders Warehouse and Leroy Merlin, but they are superb. So if you mix Sika latex in, put new grout in, and if it then stops, then you're lucky. If it doesn't, then you know the waterproofing on the walls have failed. Now you need to remove the tiles, re-waterproof, and then when you retile, make sure that Sika latex is mixed into the tile glue and the grout. So you've got an extra layer of protection.
So that sounds to me like owners actually need to be cognizant of the maintenance that they have to do within their section, because often, you've moved into sectional title and you feel, all my maintenance headaches are over. I don't have to worry about anything. But in actual fact, you still have maintenance, like you were saying. It could be your shower, it could be your balcony. And if it's part of your section and not common property, it's the owner that needs to sit with that.
Exactly.
And window frames. How many war stories do you have about window frames where the owner didn't do their part, but the body corporate did?
Yeah. So wooden window frames are like babies. They need constant attention. Okay. And wooden window frames on the outside really must be treated annually, especially if they face north or west. The southern and eastern ones can be treated maybe every second year, but it's very important that they are treated regularly. Now, what I have found is that the body corporate does maintenance on the outside, And the owner does nothing on the inside because he thinks, oh, I live in a body corporate unit. And then the window frames start rotting from the inside. Now, the window frames are rotten through, and the homeowner says to the body corporate, replace the window. It's your responsibility. I was called in by a body corporate. They had steel window frames, and they painted these window frames every 5 years. And the complex was actually looking good. And they had this one unit where the frames were actually rusting through from the inside. And this owner just said, not my problem. So I was allowed into the unit and I was horrified. Now, you've got to remember that if you do not have ventilation, okay, especially in winter, you have moisture and the condensation runs down the window frames and it sits on the windowsills and the frames eventually start rusting. Especially in bathrooms, if you don't open the windows and you don't have ventilation, the window frames start rusting. And these people never opened the windows. The frames were so rusted on the inside. They never opened the windows. They had been living there for 10 years and they had done no maintenance. So my ruling was, it's the homeowner's responsibility, hasn't done maintenance, and the body corporate replaced the window frames and charged the homeowner. You have to do maintenance on the inside of your unit. The window frames, your bathrooms, you need to replace the silicone around the bath, the shower, the basin, the zinc, all of those things. You need to take care of it. Otherwise, it's going to start impacting the outside of the complex. And legally, the body corporate can take you on.
Yeah, I think a lot of owners don't actually realize that. They really, really don't. And Marisia, you mentioned something about paving. So for us, paving sometimes can be alarm bells for liability, accidents waiting to happen. What is the role of trustees in a body corporate and they've got interlocking paving? What are they supposed to be doing in terms of maintaining it so that they don't have insurance issues and maybe they don't have maintenance issues down the line? What are they supposed to do with that?
Okay, so very important when I do maintenance inspections, when I arrive on the site, I have a look at what direction does the site slope. Does the site naturally slope towards the building, towards the boundary wall, towards the street, wherever? Because the one thing you have to remember is you cannot stop water. You have to accommodate the flow of the water. You can guide it, very important to guide it, but you won't be able to stop it. So the law actually also states that the paving must slope away in a 1 in 50 gradient, that must slope away from the building. So if you have paving around the building, make sure that it slopes away. Very important, between the building and the paving, don't have a gap. Don't put cement in there, it's only going to crack. You do a 50-50 mixture of river sand and cement, and you do what we call, you cork it. So you push it in there, and over time, the water and everything will mix, and it'll make a nice mixture, and it will seal. It'll prevent water from going in, because if water goes in under the foundations, it will eventually compromise the foundations. So you have to make sure that the paving slopes away from the building, and then you must make sure that when the grout has washed out, that you replace the grout. Because if the grout washes out and there's nothing between the paving bricks, weeds and trees and plants and everything will start growing there. And their roots can actually cause a lot of damage. Here's a photograph of a weed that my son pulled out between our paving, and you can see the weed is small, and look at these huge roots. And the problem is that the wind blows the seeds of trees, and they fall into the paving and they start growing, and their roots will cause a lot of damage. The other thing you have to check, roots of trees. Here's a photograph of how the roots of trees can lift the paving. Now remember, these roots will also go under the building, cause structural cracks, and insurance will not pay for structural cracks. And it will go under the boundary walls, and it will cause structural cracks on the boundary walls. Now, in a complex, you don't want structural cracks on boundary walls because eventually that wall can fall over and there might be children in the area.
Yeah.
So paving, the trustees need to take a walk around the complex every 6 months. Check, are there roots that have lifted the paving a lot? Has the grout washed out? Is it caulked between the building? The garden service or the gardener or whatever must know that at least once a month they must pull out all the weeds and just check the paving, and especially around a swimming pool. You must remember everybody's barefoot around the swimming pool. So now if the grout is washed out between the paving at the swimming pool and the weeds are starting to grow and they lifting the paving and everything, people are going to hurt their feet. Another thing, while we're talking about paving around the swimming pool, that trustees must remember is that you've got your coping tiles, which are the ones, shall I say, connected to the shell of the pool, and then you've got your paving. Now, between the coping tile and the paving, you've normally got a rubber sealant because the pool moves at a different level and you've got the paving moving. Now, that needs to be replaced, and you need to check that. The minute there's been too much movement and that's starting to crack, replace it. There's Seeker's got a product called Seeker Pool, which is excellent. And here is a photograph of why you must do it. This client, his house was designed badly. So they had a huge storm, one of those 150 millimeters in an hour storms, and his pool was overflowing. And he had steps going down to the house, and the pool was overflowing towards the house. So he switched the backwash on and emptied the pool, but he emptied it too much. And he hadn't done his maintenance around the pool, and water went in between the paving and the shell. And you can see on this photograph that it actually lifted the shell of the pool out of the ground. So this is excessive, I know, but this is what happens when you don't keep the sealant between the pool coping and the paving. This will happen. Very important, keep an eye on that.
Sure. So, Marisia, do you have a summary of basic do's and don'ts for trustees? Maybe they're new to all of this and they really like, oh, I know I have to do a 10-year maintenance plan, but what does it all entail? Like, what are the major do's and don'ts that our trustees can sort of have a checklist to, or something to that?
Okay. So very importantly is, and I know trustees are trying to save money and whatever. And yes, I know I'm expensive when I do maintenance plans, but a lot of bodies corporate just have an Excel spreadsheet. Oh, we'll paint the window frames in 5 years, or we'll do this in 10 years or whatever. But they don't actually have the knowledge. And has anybody actually gone and looked at the window frames? Can the window frames survive 5 years before you attend to it? So when I do a maintenance inspection and a maintenance plan, all of the stuff that I've told you now, I look at it in detail and I say, listen, this pool needs to be attended to this year. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. And I look at all of these things and I say, listen, guys, on the western side of the building, you need to attend to this. But on the eastern side, you can attend to it in 3 years' time. So I go into a lot of detail like I've given to you now. And then I give them a complete maintenance plan. And I also do I also add in compliance there. So I will say, guys, the units are not 150 millimeters above the outside area. So what does that mean? When the property is going to get flooded in that once a year 150 millimeter storm, insurance is going to say, we're not paying because the units are not 150 by outside above the ground level. Or your roof does not slope the required 5 degrees. Or your undertile plastic has to be replaced. Or the geysers are installed wrong. So all of these things, remember, you want to make sure that when you submit a claim to insurance, they're going to say, Oh, yeah, okay, here's your money, go carry on. You don't want to get into a fight with insurance. And that is when I do this maintenance inspection. It takes a long time. My reports are detailed, they are huge. But all of the stuff we spoke about now, I go into detail. I give you drawings, I give you the regulations, everything. But if they don't want me to come and do an inspection, I have an online maintenance program, which is called the Proud Homeowner Online Maintenance Program. And in there, I detail if. So I have a video on concrete roofs. So I detail everything about concrete roofs. This is wrong. This is what you've got to do. This is how you fix it. Don't do this. Don't use this product. Use that product and everything. And then there is a checklist for each item. So if you've got a tiled roof, there are various sections on the tiled roof. There are the ridges, the valleys, the hips, the barge boards, the fascias, the gutters, everything. And there's a checklist for everything. So I say, here's the checklist for the gutters. Go and take a walk around, check the gutters. Is this the case? Okay, this is what you must do. Is this the case? Then that is what you must do. Okay. The other thing that helps people with, and a lot of my homeowners do this, is let's say, for instance, they need the valleys cut open and the ridge tiles need maintenance or whatever. They go and watch the video. They check the checklist and they make notes and they get Pity or whoever to come and give a quote on the roof. And they say to him, I need you to replace the mortar between the ridges, but I need you to replace the DPC under the ridge tiles. And I want the same color as my roof tiles. And don't use membrane. Do it this way. And then the guy goes, whoops, I better not take a chance here and quote on stuff that's not needed, because they know what they're talking about. Oh. And then after they've done the work, before you pay them your final amount, you watch the video again and you go and say, Marisia said it mustn't look like this, it must look like this, fix. So it empowers you. It'll empower a body corporate, and it empowers homeowners that they actually take control and on the checklist. So when you buy this program the first time, I would suggest that you spend a weekend, take all the checklists, go and check your barge boards, your sprockets, your valleys, inside your house, everything. And then I say, check this every 6 months. Check this every 3 months. Do this. If this is the case, do it every year or every second year or whatever. So I guide you on how and when to do maintenance. And remember, if you do the maintenance properly, you will end up doing less maintenance. And if you use the proper products, that's the big thing. You know, if you go to Builder's Warehouse, they're going to either sell you the cheapest product, or if the guy likes this product or whatever, or he gets paid a commission, I don't know, they're going to try and sell you that product. My opinion, Seeker or Den Braven. Other than that, you say, no, don't want. Okay. And it's important that you know what product to use and what product not to use. And also I offer this service to Bodies Corporate is, if you're going to do maintenance on your roof, email me the 3 plans, the 3 quotes you got. And I'll say to you, no, this guy, no, forget about it. You know, not on. Or I can meet the contractors on site, brief them and say, listen, I want you to quote on A, B, C, D, E, make sure everybody quotes on the same thing, and then we have a look at it. I'm currently assisting a complex of, I think they've got about 30 blocks. They're painting the complex. So I vetted the painters beforehand. The painters they got quotes from, I just said, there's no ways you can use any of these guys. You know, these are the red flags. We got other quotes. They've appointed somebody, and I now go twice a week. I go and do quick checks. When the guys want payment, I get the invoices, I go and check, yeah, no, first fix this, fix that, because it's a big, I mean, it's a 3.5 million rand contract. So rather have somebody like me go and check on the painters, make sure they're doing it properly, and you know you're not going to be wasting your money. That's very important, very important.
Yeah, I think a lot of approaches now that we're finding is that money is tight. So a lot of complexes do almost in-house maintenance. and it's more of a visual improvement, and the same thing happens again the following year and the following year, and then they've spent that equivalent,
Yeah.
to what they would have done on a proper project.
Yeah. And also, a lot of contractors, I deal with a few contractors, but I have one contractor who does a lot of work for my property investors. And what he's done with some complexes is they say to him, listen, we've got 50,000 in our kitty. We need to do the roof now, or whatever I say is urgent. Listen, you need to attend to this immediately. And then they say, we can give you 10,000 Rand a month. Give us a quote for all the items. And then he says, okay, when you've got 20,000, let's do this. Or he paints the window front, the windows on the outside. He does 10,000 Rands worth of work a month. So you do it that way. You still do your maintenance. You do the urgent things first. And as your money comes in, you do the maintenance. And you must always remember that preventative maintenance and proper maintenance is a lot cheaper than emergency maintenance. And now you've got to replace something because it's broken, and it's emergency because the roof is leaking and everybody's grumpy and cross, and you get somebody off the street quickly to do it. And if people want to do in-house maintenance, please ensure that the people know what they must do, have the correct products. And again, I can assist. I can come and make sure, listen, no, do it like this, do it like that, guide the people on how to do it.
Well, I think that's going to help our clients tremendously. How do they get in touch with you, Marisia?
Over to gautenginspect.co.za, and my telephone number's there, my email is there. They can fill in the get a quote form. And if they're interested in the Proud Homeowner Maintenance Program or the book, they can head over to proudhomeowner.co.za, and they can buy the maintenance program and the book there.
Awesome. I think this has been probably one of the most valuable interviews that we've done. And I think it's going to be extremely helpful to our clients, especially now with the rainy season in full swing. So I just want to thank you very much for your time, and thank you for joining us
Candice.
on our channel. And then
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And then Addsure followers, don't forget to like our video, to share our video, especially this one, and to please follow us for more information that we have pertaining to you and insurance and your buildings. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cool.